Hi, everyone. We're waiting for NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to come in and start the press conference. It's a matter of time. He'll be coming through those doors and coming right up to that podium there. And this will conclude the 2022 NFL Spring League meeting focused on a minority hiring symposium. You all right?
Okay, Commissioner Goodell will be here momentarily, and we'll get brief remarks, and then we do have handheld mics. You can wave, and we'll get to you momentarily.
Old time's sake. Old time's sake.
Yes.
Okay, I think you all have had a lot of updates on the meetings. Obviously, I think the most significant element of this meeting was the accelerator program. Again, I think you've had quite a few updates on it. The program was very clearly a big success, and we'll obviously get more feedback and we'll consider other changes to it, but very pleased with the first opportunity to be able to do this. I think it was really positive. As you probably know, the participants attended the opening of our league meeting today. They sat in for about 45 minutes before they went back to the remainder of their program. And then we've never done that before. So I think it gave them a unique perspective of how league meetings are conducted. And here are at least two subjects, I think, that we covered while they were in there. But I would also say just more broadly, and I think this was a reaction of the ownership as well as others, that the future is very bright with the talent that we saw over the last 2 days. Extraordinary young people, both men and women, who are going to be a big part of the future of the NFL. So very pleased with that program. Our Diversity Advisory Committee was also here. This is a committee that we discussed back at the Super Bowl, and I think announced around the annual meeting. They have met at least twice now with us, but they spent the last 2 days here speaking to participants, speaking to owners and club officials, both formally and informally, and I think that was very beneficial to them, and we look forward to continuing our work with them. We also spent some time with our own DEI committee today, and we passed, I think the most significant aspect of our resolution was two timing issues, essentially. One that would allow the coaches the opportunity of 3 days after a game to be able to prepare for any interviews once their season is completed. And the second was not to allow head coaches to be hired until after the wild card weekends. So I think those are the two most significant there. And then I think you understand the combine will remain in Indianapolis for 23 and 24. And also, I know you've been updated on the Pro Bowl and where we are with that evaluation as far as the game is concerned, and how we're thinking about how we create that into a celebration of our players rather than a football game. I think that covers most everything.
Okay.
That's the extension, sorry. Which was
And,
another.
with questions, why don't we start with Judy?
Roger, could you give us an update on where the Deshaun Watson investigation stands and perhaps a timeline for when we may get a resolution?
Sorry to disappoint you, but I can't give you a timeline because I think that process will go forward. I think we're nearing the end of the investigative period, and then at some point, as you know, this will be handled by our disciplinary officer. And that will happen hopefully shortly, and then we'll see where that comes out.
Other questions? Mark Maskey?
Roger, it's the first time we've had a chance to speak to you since the Oversight Committee detailed its financial allegations against Daniel Schneider and the Commanders. What was your reaction to those allegations, and also what's your reaction to the speculation of the possibility of ownership potentially taking a vote to force Daniel Schneider out?
Well, on the last point, I'm not aware of that at all. So I can only respond much to speculation, particularly one that I don't know as an fact basis. On the first one, obviously, I think we've taken all of the allegations seriously. We'll look at them and we'll see if there's any fact basis to any of those. But we certainly will treat those all seriously, and we'll deal with that once we know better. We have Mary Jo White working on that, as you know. And we'll see when we get some facts.
Commissioner, on the matter of minority hiring, there's also minority ownership. And you have Byron Allen, who's interested in owning the Broncos, and in Oakland, the group that has the E&A on the Coliseum that wants to bring the NFL back to Oakland. How close are you? How close are we to getting minority ownership? Because in the case of Oakland Loop Capital, they have $3 billion lined up already. So how close are we to getting minority ownership in the NFL from your estimation? Where are we?
Well, Zhang, I think you know,
Thank you.
we passed a resolution with the point and the principle that we wanted anyone bidding on a franchise to consider minority ownership. The good news is in the Broncos case, we had several, and that was a very positive development. We'll see how it ends up. But I think we've made it very clear that's something that we intend to do and want to have happen.
As a quick follow-up, do you see like a kind of a symposium to find out who's out there who has money? Because there's a kind of a darkness there.
That one's in, because we've been dealing with this for decades and looking and working with potential groups that are interested in doing that.
Thank you.
Roger, yeah, a couple things. Just to follow up on the Washington question. I mean, several owners have expressed to me personally some disappointment that you didn't come down a bit harder on Dan Schneider with the discipline from the previous case. Given what's happened since last July, is there a possibility that you will go back and look at Snyder's case against the context of, possible further discipline, pending on what happens out of these more recent allegations?
Well, Jared, I think we've been open about that. We said that last July. We say that in any circumstance with discipline, that if new information comes about, we take that into consideration. And we said that at the time, and we would say it here again.
Second question involves the hearing tomorrow with the John Gruden matter. I know philosophically, the league's position in terms of having some of these issues play out in arbitration versus going to open court. Can you define what your position is in terms of whether this case will be settled with arbitration, or if it does have to go to court as the Gruden camp wants, what would be your
I don't
thinking?
think that's a decision I'm gonna make, but Jared, it sounds like that's what the court's gonna make, right? So we'll wait and see what the court decides.
Connor from Denver.
Mr. Commissioner, I'd like to ask about the sale of the Denver Broncos. How are you feeling about where this process stands right now and the quality of bids that are coming in? And are any of these bids including any pledges to upgrade the stadium or build a new one?
We're not gonna get any specifics of where the bids are or any specific elements of those bids, but I would say, and I made this point today, that the cooperation, the communication has been very good between the Broncos and our staff, as well as the representatives of the Broncos. So it's moving forward, and when they get to a completion, we'll know that, and then we'll start our process.
Ian Rappaport.
Two questions, Roger. First of all, is there any update on the Miami Dolphins investigation, Stephen Ross with the allegations of tanking from Brian Flores' lawsuit?
Is that the two questions? or
That's my one question.
There is not any update on that. Obviously, Mary Jo White is working on that, and when she completes that, she will certainly update us, and then we'll move from there.
And then, this is an actual second question. The combine staying in Indy for, was it close at all? Was it obvious? What went into that?
I think it's one, a recognition that Indianapolis really values the combine. Also that they've done a terrific job on it. I think people are comfortable with that opportunity because we've done it for so long. And I said, we're also really focused on how do we improve the medical evaluations of that. It's probably our primary focus right now, and making sure that we do that as effectively possible for, obviously, all the clubs, but probably more importantly, the players themselves. Every year we meet with the draft prospects, and we ask, how was the process from your last college game until the draft? And I think that's one of the things that comes up frequently, is, can we improve the medical evaluations? From an efficiency standpoint, the length of time that they're waiting to get MRIs and they're getting x-rays, I think we can improve that, and we'll spend a lot of time on it.
Ben Fisher.
Roger, recently the St. Louis Post-Dispatch wrote a couple of articles based off of documents they obtained from the NFL litigation. And the stories they told with those records makes it appear clear to a reasonable reader that the public was misled by the Rams and the league about Stan Kroenke's intentions prior to that process became public. With so many stadium and venue issues popping up around the league over the next 5 or 10 years, what assurances can you give fans in other cities that they'll hear the straight story from the league and their team about their needs and their intentions and their sustainability in their markets?
Well, I would tell you, from the first standpoint, I don't agree with your assumption on what you conclude. Second of all, I think those processes end up being very public, very transparent, and I think everyone understands exactly what the club needs and what the community wants to do, and they will try to work to reach that kind of an agreement. But none of us want to see relocations. We've always said we work hard to avoid those. When they happen, they're painful for everyone, and we do our best to avoid that.
Albert.
Yeah, Roger, I think there was obviously, a lot of unknown going into the diversity program and how that would go. What did you?
The accelerator?
Yeah. Like, what did you personally take away from it? What do you think you personally gained from the last couple of days and having it here?
Listen, Albert, I understand there was probably skepticism out there about the program, maybe people in this room as well. But I think what it showed to me is the extraordinary talent that we have. I think it also demonstrated that to our clubs, which I think they knew. But it also, I think, gave those individuals an opportunity to sort of see another side of the league, the way we operate, but also have an opportunity to really get to know some of the people and decision makers on the club level, including ownership. And I think that kind of communication, and that kind of ability to understand the environment better for both our clubs and our participants was really incredibly valuable and overwhelmingly positive. I think everyone walked away with a different perspective, and I think that's what we want. And there are a lot of future GMs and head coaches that were in that room. And so we think that we've advanced that.
Jeremy?
Two quick ones. What ideas were kicked around as far as like a solution for the Pro Bowl?
I don't know if I'd say solutions for it. I think what we tried to lay out is what we've been talking to the NFLPA about, and many of our players individually. I've spoken to several players myself about what works and what doesn't work. I think the conclusion was that the game itself doesn't work, and that we needed to find a different way to celebrate our players, celebrate the fact, these being our Pro Bowl players and the best players in our league, and give them an opportunity to celebrate that with our fans. And we talked an awful lot about some of the events around the Pro Bowl are really extraordinarily popular, whether it's a quarterback challenge or some of the other events. So this
Concern or frustration from your ownership group about Dan Snyder's tenure?
No, I don't. I think those are things that each individual owner, they have their own opinions on what's happening. I often said to everyone, including this group, let's wait and get the facts.
Okay, two more, Jonathan.
Hey, Roger. There's a report out of the Pacific Northwest that Paul Allen's trust necessitates that the Seahawks should be sold. Is that your understanding? And what is the league's view of the immediate future of the ownership of Seattle?
I don't see any immediate change in the ownership structure in Seattle, but I think the Seahawks ought to be the ones to address your first issue.
Let's finish up with our host, to Orlando Denver.
Thank you. Hope everybody had a good time.
I haven't left the hotel.
Maybe that's coming. The expansion or enhancement of the Rooney Rule to include the quarterback position, quarterback coach position, how do you all see the mechanics of that playing out, and maybe even expanding your minority coaching pipeline?
Well, I think we've been pretty open that we feel where we need to work a little bit harder is on the offensive side of the ball, because a lot of teams have stressed more the offensive coach who can develop the quarterback and develop the offensive system. So what we're trying to do with the offensive system that we put in back in March, as well as this change as far as the Rooney Rule, is to try to do everything we can to encourage that. It's from a policy standpoint, and as far as development, we actually had at least 2, maybe 3 quarterback coaches that were here as part of the accelerator program too. So I think it'll play out the same way the Rooney Rule has with respect to coordinators and special teams coordinators. And I think it'll work the same way. We'll have a diverse slate, and hopefully we'll be able to get more candidates to be in that position to get hired as offensive coordinator and then head coach.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, thanks, Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So that concludes the 2022 NFL Spring League meeting. And hey, Steve, you want to take us out? What do you think about this meeting?
Yeah, look, I mean, the league spent a lot of time on the Diversity Accelerator program. Spoke to a lot of folks who participated. They said the onus is kind of on the owners to make the decisions, but they're glad they went through it and met some of the people that they never had an opportunity to meet before, including some of their other diverse colleagues in the league. They felt that was huge. Otherwise, it's kind of league business as usual. And we'll see what happens next with the Deshaun Watson investigation and everything else.
Catch them on NFL Network, folks. Hey, thanks, man. Great to see you. All right, see you later. Hey, see you.
Hey, man. Sorry about this. I leave you hanging. Yo.
Okay, see you.
All right. Yeah.
Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. That concludes this broadcast. Thanks.